Hey, this is Mr. Muller for lesson 3.5, graphing linear equations in slope-intercept form. So a couple of keywords here. Everything we're going to be doing today is going to be linear. So that means it's going to be a straight line. So if you end up doing a graph and it's not a straight line, that means something went wrong for you. Okay, so we're going to be using the formula y equals mx plus b. So everything's going to be in this formula. And when we talk about this, m is going to be our slope. So that's how much we go up or down. And b is going to be our y-intercept. So that's where it crosses the y-axis. So if we look at this, very important here to count our slope, we need to look at when these dots are between kind of the gray checkered background there. So when they're between the dots here. So all the way between those squares, so like right on the edge. So we'll see right there, there's one. Right there, there's one. Right there, there's one. But like if we notice like right here, it's kind of between 2 points. So we don't want that one. That's kind of between 2 points. That's kind of between 2 points. So we're going to be looking at when it crosses directly through the corner of our grid behind us. So here they want us to find the slope in the y-intercept. And I'm going to make this more complicated than it is. Some of you are probably like saying, Mr. Molo, it's right there. I know. All right. So if I want to see my slope here, that means I'm going to count up 1, up 2, and right 1, right 2, right 3. So it is 2/3 is our slope, or for those of you yelling at me, it's right there, 2/3. Y-intercept, remember, is where it crosses the y line, which is, here's my y line right here. It's crossing the y line at 2, or that point right there. All right, same thing here. So if I'm going to look where this line goes through the corners here, it looks like it goes through a corner there, not there. Looks right there, not right there, right there, not right there. So kind of see where it's going through those corners there. So if I count from any one of these dots, it looks like I'm going to end up going down 2 and right 1. So my slope is -2/1. Or if we see right there, -2. And our y-intercept, it looks like it's crossing the y line at -1. So our y-intercept is -1. Here, it wants us to write them out. So description of it, like I already said on the opening statement, we are graphing linear equations. So I'm just going to write in line for all of these because I know all of these are going to be a straight line. And then like I said before, the slope is always the one next to the x. So here I have 2x, so my slope is 2. Here, kind of tricky, it's a negative x, so that really means -1. Here it's a regular positive x, so that means 1. And then if we look at the y-intercept, remember that's the number at the end. So this one was +3 that they gave us. The next one is a -2. The next one is a +1. And then the last one is a -4. So now they want us to graph those 4 lines. So I'm always going to start with whatever my y-intercept is. So for A, my y-intercept is 3. And then my slope is -2/3. So we like it when it's a fraction. I'm actually going to go back and rewrite these as fractions. That makes it a little easier because then we remember that it's over 1. So -2/3 means down 2 and right 3. And I'd like to do it again, except that would put me off the graph. So I'm just going to have to try to get my line as straight as I can. So it would look something like that. All right, same thing with B here. So my y-intercept is a -2. And my slope is a +2/1. So that means I'm going to go up 2 and right 1. I'm going to do it again and again so I get a straighter line. This time it let me do it a couple times. And so there's my line for that one. We got 2 more on the next page here. So we have our slope is, actually our y-intercept, sorry, is +1. And our slope is -1. So that means down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. And so that's going to be what our line looks like there. And then on our last one, our y-intercept was -4. And our slope was +1. So up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, and up 1, right 1. So draw a line to connect there. All right, so remember, we're always starting in our y-intercept and then doing whatever our slope is, either up or down if it's positive or negative. So kind of important on this page, especially if something's multiple choice, kind of eliminates a lot of things. So in the United States, we read things from left to right, and it's kind of the same thing for math. So from the left side of this line to the right side of this line, it is going up. and then so we call that a positive slope. Same thing here, from the left side of this line to the right side of this line, it is going down, so we call that a negative slope. Here, I like to think of skiing. So if you end up skiing on a hill that looks like this isn't going to be very much fun for you skiing, so it's going to be zero fun. And here, probably wouldn't be very safe for you to be skiing on something like that. So if you ski and you ski on something like this, well, when you get down to the bottom, you might look a little different and be a little undefined there. So horizontal lines are going to be 0, and then straight up and down lines are going to be undefined. And the reason for that is, if we do our slope here, so we're going to rise 0 and run a number. If you put that into your calculator, you get 0. But here, we're going to rise some number, and we're going to run 0. And if you put that in your calculator, then you get error. That's not possible. So undefined is another way to say that. Okay, here we need to describe the slope of the line and then find the slope. So that first one we just got done talking about. That first one is going to end up being undefined. So it doesn't really have a slope, so undefined. Here we're going to say this slope from left side to right side is positive. So we're just going to call it positive. And our slope, it looks like I have a dot there and a dot there. So it gives us 2 dots, so I'm just going to use those to count from. It looks like I'm going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up 8, over 1, 2, 3, 4. So 8 over 4 is our slope. And another way to say 8 over 4 is 2 over 1, or just 2 for our slope. Here, same thing. From left to right, it looks like it's going down this time. So that would be a negative slope. And then they also gave us points here, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I went down 5, right 5. So 5 over 5, which is the same as negative 1. So our slope there is negative 1. Okay, here, 4 and 5, it says use the points represented on the table of the line to find the slope. So here, now we have numbers instead of an actual graph. So we're actually going to be using a new equation here. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And what that really means is we're really just going to subtract 2 y's and subtract 2 x's and then divide them. So here, if I subtract any 2 y's, so I always like to pick the smaller numbers. So negative 2 minus negative 2 over 2 minus 1. Well, negative 2 minus negative 2 is 0. 2 minus 1 is 1. And that equals a 0 slope. Same thing here. I'm actually going to go backwards here because that'll make this math easier for me. So I'm going to do 11 minus 3 over negative 3 minus 1. So it doesn't really matter if you do left to right or right to left. Just make sure, since I went left to right with my y's, I go left to right with my x's. So 11 minus 3 is 8. Negative 3 minus a negative 1 turns into plus plus, ends up giving me a negative 2. So then my slope ends up being a negative 4. 6, 7, 8, it's asking us to find the slope. I'm going to come back to 6 in a second here because 7 and 8 aren't too bad. So remember what I said in the beginning, our slope is really our number next to x. So our slope here is negative 3/4. Here, again, same thing, number next to x. So our slope is 5. Here is a little tricky because it doesn't say y equals. So I need to get that to say y equals. So going back to section, I believe 1,4, I need to get that y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. So I get 4y equals negative 6x plus 24. And I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So I get y by itself. And if you remember, I divide both of these by 4. So negative 6 divided by 4 can get simplified to 3 over 2. And 24 divided by 4 can get simplified to 6. And remember, all we care about is the slope. So our slope is always the one next to x. So negative 3 over 2 would be our slope there. All right, number 9. A graph, linear function f models a relationship in which the dependent variable decreases 6 units for every 3 units. The independent variable decreases. The value of the function is 0, 4. And so we need to graph these. All right. So it says it's starting at 0, 4. So it gives us the y-intercept. It's 4. And it also says that the dependent decreases 6, and then it decreases 3. So that means I'm going to go down 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then it says it's decreasing 3, which means to the left 3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. And so I'm going to draw my line here. So we got our y-intercept was 4. They told us that in the problem. Okay. Our slope, now I can count out, was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Kind of weird because it said it's decreasing and decreasing. So 2 negatives. You can look at it like that as well. So -6 over -3 is the same as 2, or 2 over 1. X-intercept here, it looks like it's crossing at -2. And we can even test that out, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. All right, so that is your lesson on slope.